Today, brothers and sisters, we're blessed that there are a number of different optional memorials, masses in honor of a number of different saints, including Saint Madeleine Sophie Barré, who is the French saint and a founder of the Society of the Sacred Heart. Today's end of the gospel, where Jesus says he did not come to be served but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many, makes me think of another saint whose feast day is today. His name is Saint Miguel de la Mora. I don't imagine you've heard of him. We don't generally celebrate his feast day here in the United States. The only reason I came to know of him is because his great-grandniece was a student at a college where I was chaplain, so she, as it were, introduced me to him. And I marveled over the fact that I know a relative of a saint, and this family relationship between the two of them helped to remind me that the saints are real people, that they embrace God's grace and are made holy in the everyday situations of our life. Well, this student's great-grand-uncle was a priest in Mexico in the early 20th century, and you may know that there was a severe persecution of Catholics by the government during that time. And so Father de la Mora continued his ministry despite the threats that were made against him. At one point he was arrested, and when he was finally released, he was done so with a warning to stop his ministry. He continued despite the threats. He was subject to ongoing harassment by the government forces who were trying to get him to join a planned government-sponsored church that would break any allegiance to Rome. In 1926, the government closed the churches and outlawed public worship, and many of de la Mora's friends tried to get him to leave the area, but he refused to do so. Eventually, his brother prevailed upon Father de la Mora to come to his ranch, which was in a more rural, out-of-the-way area. While he was on his way there, Father de la Mora was stopped by a young couple who asked him to perform a marriage ceremony for them. He agreed, but some pro-government sympathizers overheard the request and reported the incident to the authorities. The soldiers arrived, and learning about what happened, they took Father de la Mora into a barn where they shot him while he was praying the rosary for them. And so he went on to be canonized as a martyr. I'd be inclined to think, as I heard that story, why didn't Father de la Mora simply kind of put off the couple, say, well, you know, things are kind of hot right now, let's wait until they calm down and then I'll marry you? Or maybe he could have said, hey, why don't you come with me out to my brother's ranch? A little inconvenient for you, but we can do it there. Why did he have to marry them then? St. Ambrose once said, Christian discipleship demands the postponing of human things in favor of the divine. Christian discipleship demands the postponing of human things in favor of the divine. Makes me think how often we can be tempted to do the opposite. We can postpone divine things in favor of our human agenda. Perhaps we postpone our prayer time because we want to watch a favorite TV show, or we put off prayer because we want to watch read the newspaper, or we postpone reaching out to somebody because it's kind of inconvenient for us. But that's the exact opposite of what we see with the life of Father de la Mora. He refused to postpone the divine thing, marrying a couple, in favor of the human thing, even his own safety. And in this, like all the saints, he imitates Christ, who came not to be served, but to serve. And St. Miguel gives us an example to follow in the everyday, ordinary circumstances of our lives. In all those opportunities, all those situations where we have the chance to postpone or not the things of God. And he exhorts us, like all the saints do, to put a higher priority on the things of God than our own human things.